Hey there, everyone. This is Camber here with the Yo Pro in the Know. We are so excited to have Amani Grace King with us today, a writer in Greenville, South Carolina, and a friend of mine. We actually graduated from Furman a few years apart, but since we both ended up in Greenville, we have become fast friends, and I'm really excited to share her story today. So thanks for being here with us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Cam. We're really excited.
Good. Well, first things first, we'd love to get a background on you. So tell us, what have you been up to this point, and then we'll dive into those details in a little bit.
Right. So, like you said, graduated from Furman University 2019 with communication studies and politics and international affairs double major. Through that, I got into marketing. So I've been in marketing and public relations the past year, working in like interpersonal communications with clients and content creation, really great stuff. And right now I'm currently writing. So writing is taking a lot of forms these days. So I'm screenwriting. So that means writing movies and TV shows. And then I'm also writing a book of monologues for any reason, just for if you're auditioning, if you need a creative writing prompt, if you need something to read while you're on the toilet. It could be anything, but it's a compilation of just different voices and different stories and figments of my imagination, really. So that's what's currently taking up all the time, and then also working on production of small vignettes and writing those and working with production companies. So.
Great. Well, thanks for that recap. You can clearly tell there's a lot of creativity in your career path. Yeah, well, just going from marketing and PR to now writing a collection of things and items, you can tell that clear path, which is pretty cool because sometimes it's, zigzagged, and I feel like it's still, it's a path that who knows where it'll take you next. We'll touch on that in a little bit, but that was a great recap. So one thing I would love to talk about now is what your day-to-day looks like. And, as a writer, especially in light of, COVID-19 and how everyone's working remote now, has that changed your day-to-day at all?
Definitely. It's changed my day-to-day in that, so a lot of times the writing ended up being something that I did part-time, but now that I'm full-time writing, I'm adding kind of a strict schedule, and you approach it like a job, and because it is your job, but you approach it not in the way of I'll just write when the flow is there and the creativity is there and I'm blindly inspired. It's not even like that anymore. It's more of a very strict routine that I've had to create for myself and make that so it doesn't end up just being something that I do when it's convenient, because like we all can say with jobs, we don't only get to do them when it's convenient. We do them all the time. So in terms of scheduling in my day-to-day, it is, wake up, meditate, kind of try to get aligned with what I'm going to do that day in terms of the projects I'm going to work on. And sometimes I give myself a little bit of leeway in terms of if I'm not quite feeling a project, I can switch and write to another project as long as I'm writing is the big thing. So really, being strict with a schedule, and I would recommend that for I think any writer, is if you're serious about writing and you really want to have tangible proof of your creativity, is to take it really seriously in terms of writing. So you set timers for yourself while you write, or you give yourself kind of weekly goals, day goals, hour goals of what you need to accomplish, and being strict about editing and being strict about sharing your stuff and being a peer editor or editing someone else's work or your own work. I think it's big. So I think that's been kind of my day-to-day. Yeah. It's literally just writing, even when I'm like, I don't really want to do this right now. Yeah. And still just continuing and trucking along. So,
well, I think that gives a really good recap of how your life has been impacted, but it's applicable to everyone, not just people who are in your field. So I think that's applicable for everyone. So that's a great answer. Tell us a little bit about what you're writing about.
So we have a couple projects. Like I said, the monologues, the book of monologues is so many different voices of, the title is kind of a compilation of raw, dramatic, humorous, witty, monologue. So that takes very different shapes, and it takes voices that could be young men, older women, young women, women in love, men out of love, and people who are angry, and people who are sad. So that takes a lot of shapes in terms of content. For the television element of the TV show that I'm writing, it's a dystopia. So that is kind of, and it's very timely as to what's going on, the current, turmoil that's going on in this country. It's disturbingly close, which is something that I didn't expect because I started writing this last year. And, while the themes of race are in it, themes of it's a dystopian, where it's pure segregation and how the rules of blacks and whites come to be very, very strict, and whether it's the government or if it's kind of personally inflicted, you take those roles and that's what you live by. And there's only certain realms where there's integration, which is, I take a very small seed of something that you witness and then you blow it up in a lot of dystopians. And I'm seeing that the more I write it, the more I see it's getting a little less fiction and more very realistic. So that's been
that's really powerful.
It's been an experience. There are times where you're looking at the news and I have to put it down because it's getting really, really close to home. And so that has been therapeutic in a lot of ways to write that, but also it's been hard. It's been trying, and it's been really hard that I've had to kind of give myself its own breaks on that.
Yeah, because it's something that you're like, this is obviously something that everyone sees in the media every day, and for some people it's the life that they live every single day. But a lot of people, when they work, it's not central to their work. And so even though maybe people can make the case and the argument that it should be, but some people can just go to work and escape it, but like it's part of your work. And so I can see how that would be really challenging. And another question I want to ask, and this is something, Amani and I have been talking offline about this as well. We had mentioned a couple of weeks ago just the impact that our generation has. And I'd like to kind of talk about that, if you wouldn't mind sharing, what do you think, what impact do you think our generation will have, moving forward as a part of this movement?
So I think, when we talked about this earlier, I mentioned civic engagement, and civic engagement can take so many different forms. So it can take, voting, it can take, participating in organizations, and that could be community groups, that could be your neighborhood, HOA. There's so many different ways you can be civically engaged. But the biggest thing and the most basic form of civic engagement is voting. So not just voting in a national election, but voting in your state elections and your local elections. And so I think we have so much social media advocacy and digital advocacy, which is phenomenal. And I've never seen anything like it. And that has just been amazing in terms of getting people broadcasting their stories and sharing resources. I think that's phenomenal. But I think also we have a civic responsibility to ourselves and to generations after us and before us, is to vote. And to know who your state representative is, and to know who your city council is, and to know the members who are making decisions that immediately impact your life, because those are the ones that you'll see a lot of change. We'll see a lot of broad scope change in national elections and midterm elections, but we do see a lot of community changes from community leaders. And so not only voting, but encouraging people our age to start running for those. And that's easier said than done, but to start really being actively engaged in that, and to have these conversations with people who are making decisions that impact your life and your family's life and your best friend's life and your sister's life. I think that's massive. And that's really exciting, because I think that we're going towards that trajectory, because people are starting to see that power doesn't always have to be such a negative connotation. Power can be, when it's in the hands of people who care about their community and who care about their neighbor, power's awesome. And if it's dispersed among people who, again, care for others and have those and have diversity and have a broad range of experiences, it's pretty phenomenal. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing that I can say about
I think that's
where
great.
we're going. And then what I can see, because it's like you can say it for 40 hours where the trajectory is going and where it's diverging, but I think I'm most hopeful about that element of it.
Well, me too, and thanks for sharing that. I think, one piece that you touched on was this digital advocacy that you've never seen anything like it. I don't think anyone has. And one thing that I would like to share with everyone is, you have been really vocal on your social platforms, and where else? I guess I want to know, where else can people find your writing, and what you are talking about today? How can people find you?
Oh, great! So I'm on Instagram and Facebook is the basic form of where you can find me. But right now, website is in production, and we're getting close for it to being finished, which is so exciting because I think I want to get more content out and having book sales on there and start to have kind of excerpts of my writing, because you don't want to bring out the whole thing. If it's for TV shows and movies, you don't want to get out the whole thing, but to have kind of teasers and previews is really exciting. So it will be at MontyGraceKing.com.
And we can share that on the platform.
For right now, she's under production, but that would be the best place. And I think later, probably it's scheduled to be published. I think in a month and a half is going to be. It's just some different monologues that are performed by myself, other people, and that will be on YouTube. So more to come on that.
Yeah, more to come. Great. Well, I just think that's we're talking about what you're writing about, and I think it would be really great for people to be able to know where to find you, and I think again, just thank you for what you're writing about and what you're doing, because I can imagine the words disturbingly close, like that just. I don't know what that feels like. And I think that's something really brave to share with everyone and be so open about it. So thank you for doing that. I know we're mindful of time right now. So before we wrap things up, what drives you? What motivates you?
What motivates me, Kimber, in the most basic form is kind of, and this might seem rather corny, but at this time in my life, it is joy and gratitude. If I can find that at any time in the day, I label that a victory, because I think that when you have that perspective and you have that, it fuels everything so positively and with such vigor that you can, I think, really start to not only create but inspire others. And I think in terms of in a global feeling way, it's joy and gratitude, but in a more tangible way, I think it would be getting writing out there of other people's stories. So whether that's my story or whether that's a story I've heard and I'm incorporating it in a movie I'm writing or a TV show, or if I've watched a documentary and I try to encompass that experience in a way that I'm writing, in a way that's not, plagiaristic, but genuine, an ode to and out of respect to that person, and getting those stories out there. Because I just think that, I know that when someone hears someone else's story, it adds such a valuable perspective to understanding that person, and it brings you closer together, whether you are different in socioeconomic status or in political partisanship or in any background. It brings you closer together. And so tangibly getting those stories out there, getting my story out there, getting, and hopefully showing people that, if that person can do it, you can too, and how much representation really matters. And so that's probably the tangible and the intangible.
No, that's great. Thanks for pairing that together. I think a key thing that you mentioned there is that, in this time of your life, that's what motivates you. Because I think it changes, like my motivation now is different than what my motivation is going to be in a few years. And so I think that's important that you mentioned that. I think it's a great way to to wrap things up. So Amani Grace King, everyone, thank you so much for being on YoPro in the Know.
Thanks so much for having me. This is just truly great. Thank you.